Hello, hello, and welcome to the live stream. If my camera's working. Yeah, there it is. Okay. How's it going, guys? Welcome to TheBlueShifting, and welcome to Muv-Luv Photonflowers, Photon Melodies rap party. Now, I had like a mini rap party for Photon Flowers, but I still think we really should look at these together. And so it's going to be my opportunity to really share this with you. Anyone who happens to be live, thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to hearing your comments. If there's any issues, obviously let me know. If you're watching this in post, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully at the end of a great blissful journey through the Muv-Luv playlist once again. My gosh, I took a peek at like the overall like the all Muv-Luv like playlist. That thing is freaking massive. And I love it. I'm so grateful for it. And somebody was pointing out in Discord yesterday let's see, I believe it was actually, like, the nice thing about doing live stuff is I can actually talk about it here. Like, Daisare was actually mentioning how, like, hey, maybe you should take a break from Muv-Luv, you know, you don't want to burn out or anything. And I expressed there, and I'm going to express here, is like, whilst that's normally absolutely a concern, I don't think I could burn out on Muv-Luv. I really don't feel any desire to take a break from it. In fact, I'm really looking forward to starting the next thing, which, I mean, I'll say it now. Normally I save reveals for the next, but I've already said that what I'm going to be doing here. Like, next Monday, we should be starting the day after. Like, we'll be starting that whole series. And then, because, you know, the Muv-Luv gods just don't seem to be relenting lately, it looks like I'll be able to jump right into Total Eclipse after that. Plus, not even mentioning the fact that I absolutely plan to live stream content from Project Mikhail once it releases on Steam. It'll be early access, so obviously we need to look at it with a grain of salt, but I plan to walk through it with you guys and maybe even just add a little bit of a voice to the community to help, you know, make the game better than it could be. So, like, there's a lot of great Muv-Luv content to come, and I hope you enjoy today. I hope you enjoy being able to continue to, like, share this journey with me, because, frankly, I'm going to be flat out depressed when I run out of Muv-Luv content to cover. You know, that'll happen someday, but thankfully not for a while. I bet you we got at least 2 more years of content of Muv-Luv to cover, and that's if they don't keep making new stuff, because this universe is freaking amazing, and, like, it's so well written and everything. Like, it's really gonna be exciting to jump into. So speaking of that, I don't want to take too long because I'm gonna be covering so much content, and I know I'm gonna, like, run out, because, like, I've got a little bit of a cold. So I'm probably on borrowed time as it is with my throat, so let's not push it too much. And I'm going to be referring to my notes on my phone a lot because there's a lot to go over. So I'm going to be doing things pretty much in the order that they were covered on the channel, and, like, just chronologically for, like, the releases and everything. So we'll be doing Photon Flowers, kind of a brief review since it's been a while. So I'm mostly going to be going over some of the major points and what I liked and didn't like about each of those subject matters, especially now with the context that we have through Photon Melodies. And then I'll talk about Photon Melodies in greater depth. So, sit back, relax. I'll be watching chat, so if you want to say anything in particular, let me know what's going to go on here. Hey, Dice, I really like Dice to know you're here live. No breaks on the pain train then. Yeah, like, so, the thing about Muv-Luv is that it's not just depressing. Like, even the sad stories usually have good characterization and good moments. I mean, I've actually been doing a little bit of character study recently. Not character study, more of like writing study. Like, how do you write good characters? How do you write a good story? And a lot of the points I've been studying are actually so well reflected in Muv-Luv. I honestly think I'd love to someday kind of talk about that. In fact, I submitted to do a panel at a con nearby, which I sadly didn't get a chance to this year, but hopefully next year. I want to actually do kind of a presentation. Maybe I'll just make it a video at some point of just, like, what it is about visual novels that makes them so great, especially because I'd love to be able to help people who are, like, new to visual novels and never heard of them understand why they're so special to me and why they should consider participating. So yeah, anyway, wow, I'm rambling a lot today. Kick back and let's see what we're gonna do. So on Photon Flowers, I actually have to say too, like, if you're talking about depression, Photon Flowers has the epitome of, like, the lightheartedness of Extra, like, to the, like, nth degree, but also has some of the most horrific side stories, the most dark, like, and depressing stories of this entire, like, series, really, because they tend to be a bit more isolated. They don't get that opportunity to have as much uplifting content as we are kind of used to, and those sometimes got very dark and depressing. Maybe I got spoiled by Photon Melodies, but Photon Flowers kind of was on the other side. But then again, like, you get onto the Extra, which is where we started, and it was so fluffy it was almost disgusting. I mean, first thing was Best Friends Forever, which, again, I don't know what the original names of these are. Like, I'm sure it said it, but it was probably just in Japanese anyway, so, like, I wouldn't have been able to read it. But Best Friends Forever, if you remember, is, like, the weird little short story. I only say weird because it kind of seemed out of place, of Samika and Takeru before they go to high school, kind of spending some time together that summer at a water park that actually gets shut down shortly afterwards. And that weirdly, the other reason why that's weird is because it was such a, like, random thing that was brought up, that it was this pool that they hung out at, that it actually became later in Altered Fable where it became relevant again. So I was like, okay, that's cool. But it's just, again, it's one of those weird things where, like, the narrative is so tied, it kind of is scary. That's what makes it weird. It's just like every little thing somehow has relevance in a very twisted way. And I love it. It's terrifying to approach, though, somebody who like thinks of themselves as a writer, somebody who likes to create stories of my own. It makes me feel like inadequate, and it's really interesting to be thinking about. Most of the time when you read a story, it doesn't leave you in awe, but these stories do, even the short ones. But Best Friends Forever, ultimately, it's just kind of a flashback into the mindset of Sumika and Takeru, and the point when they were really, like, still just friends, right when they were just starting to get an inkling of the fact that maybe they were going to be more than friends someday, right before everything kicks off for Takeru's journey in Extra. The next one we want to talk about is Never Judge a Book. It's a class rep side story. Really cute, good chance to look at her as a character. Again, she's not one of my favorite characters, even when I did her side story. Like, in Extra, I think she has the story that is the most realistic one. Like, she is the character that I feel like was the most relatable when it came to, like, oh, that was a lot like trying to date somebody in high school for me. Trying to date class rep. And so, like, that was nice. But she also is just a personality that, like, I feel like I would clash too much with personally, and so it was harder for me to, like, really put myself in those shoes. But even so, getting that chance to look at things from her perspective and seeing a lot more of that, like, vulnerable side of her, like, is always a good treat to have for a character, even when you don't, like, empathize with as much. And then, Dice, are you saying Muv-Luv is basically Chekhov's arsenal? Yeah, like, it's pretty much, like... Muv-Luv might be the epitome of, like, storytelling. Like, it's funny because, like, sounds like something kind of silly you could say, and I've heard people say it before, but I genuinely think Muv-Luv might be one of the greatest, like, narratives that I've ever seen. Because it's quality and quality, and I'm going to talk about that as we get going. But these first side stories are very short little snippets where they're mostly just a glance in a character to give us a bit of, it's another layer of flavor and another layer of, like, depth that we just might miss in Extra, even if we go down their routes, because despite the fact that, like, Extra by itself is like a 30-hour game, like, it still feels like there's so much left unexplored about the characters. And so these side stories, I think, are answers to that. This idea of being able to peek under the hood a little bit of just what was going on with these characters and what they were thinking and, like who they really were. The Case of the Missing Tail, Atama, that was a very cute story, but I like how it was the one time I felt like we really solidified the fact that she actually cares, like, she has, like, a crush on Takeru. Like, we know she does, but, like, she never displays it like the other girls do. Like, it's very rare that she would have these moments where she would, like, kind of, like, have a little vulnerability or maybe, like, make a side comment. Usually she's just caught up in, like, being almost like a comic relief character. Not in a comic relief way, though. Is Moe character a thing? Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, she wasn't comic relief per se. She was mostly just, like, she was almost like an aesthetic. Somebody who was a foil to other people. Where, like, sometimes, like, you have, like, a Yamane who is very sarcastic, and you have class rep who's very serious. You get all these, like, archetypes, and she kind of was a foil to a lot of them, where she was very super silly and was more interested in keeping the peace, which I really liked about that story. Like, The Missing Tail, it really shows this whole idea that, like, Tama is kind of the band-aid in the group. She kind of smooths over, like, large amounts of the wrinkles in ways that you don't expect. And so if suddenly she were out of the picture, like, it changes the dynamic of the entire friend group in ways that nobody else does, which is really cool to explore and to really see, like, firsthand. So that was my big thing from that, is, like, Tama's social role, because up until that point, even when you go down her route, she still feels like this, like, I don't want to call it third wheel, but she's like seasoning on a delicious, like, dish. It's like you could have this most amazing mouth-watering, like, centerpiece, like, meal, like main course, but if it wasn't seasoned properly, even the best cooked, like, food would be bland. She's like that perfect sprinkling of seasoning that just helps enhance almost every scene that you come across when she's involved. But it does kind of relegate her to this side character-esque feel when she's not. She's actually one of my favorite characters. And it's really interesting because, like, she can kind of come across as the, like, you know, the pseudo, like, what kind of a pervert are you type character, where she's, like, very childlike, you know, where she's, like, I guess the term lolicon. Like if you're, like, she's, like, the lolly character. Like, she's the same age as everybody, but she looks a lot younger. Like, that's always strange waters to tread, but the thing is, I think Tama pulls it off fairly well, and the idea that, like, a lot of her identity actually gets caught up in this whole idea that she's very small and very, like, often overlooked, that it feeds into her own insecurities and how she just doesn't feel like she can be taken seriously, and she kind of leans into that because it's what she expects people to see of her. And so being able to see that side of her, especially in the Lost Tale story, if you can't tell, that story actually hit me harder than most of them. And like I've said, like, in my first playthroughs of Muv-Luv Extra, the first route I went through was the Maya route. The second route I went through was Tama's route. Like, I thought she, as a character, was one of the most engaging and the sweetest. And just like, again, when I play these games, I really am good about inserting myself into the character's shoes. And I thought to myself, like, besides Maya, like, who would I see myself spending time with? And honestly, Tama would probably be one of the highest up there. Like, I think all the girls are great. Like, seriously, every one of them. They're such good characters. But Tama's one I think a lot of people might not put high on their list. But I put her higher on the list than I think most do. The Yakisoba Festival. That one's interesting because it's a Yamane story. And so it has a lot of snark, like you'd expect. But then it had the saddest arc of all these side stories, because it has the whole interaction with her finding the stray cat that she, like, feeds and takes care of. And with that juxtaposition of, like, how obsessed she is about food, to then willingly give food to an animal. Oh no, it wasn't a cat though. Was it a cat or was it a bird? Actually, I think it was a bird. Man, it's been a while. Sorry. If it was a bird, I apologize. But, like, she's, like, taking care of this little helpless creature out of her own pocket, and she's doing it in a way that's very subtle. Like, she's trying to hide it, but not hide it, I guess. Like, she just doesn't want to draw attention to it. But then she lets it go, and she and Takeru have that really powerful moment where they're like Takeru's like, you just let it go? And she's like, well, yeah, like, if you just because you love something doesn't mean that you should cling to it. Like, if anything, that's selfish. And, like, sometimes you have to move forward. And knowing the context of her story in Extra and in Unlimited and Alternative, but especially in Extra, that's really impactful. This idea of, like, taking something you love and something you, like, idealized and imagined being, like, the path you should take, like, the way your life should play out, the way things were supposed to be, and letting it go. Being like, sometimes things just don't happen the way you want them to. And that's just a fact. And being able to accept that, not the fact that it doesn't hurt, and that this somehow just makes the pain go away. Instead, being able to display this idea, this strength of character to be able to be like, okay, I will move forward now. Like, it was a very impressive character study. And in fact, I think it was the one that taught me the most about myself. And I think it's a lesson I'm still trying to learn. Okay, and then, of course, there's the Maya stories. There's learning to love and learning to lead, but it's interesting because those two are actually technically out of order. So I'm going to talk about them in the chronological order rather than the order I read them. Learning to lead is the story of Maya's journey as she's training in the sword and the way of the warrior as part of the tradition of being an heir to the Mitsurugi financial group. And remember, in Extra, she originally was kind of the ostracized child. She was the second twin. But then when her sister died young, she got pulled into the heirship, and that training was something that was crucial to it. And so, like, it makes a lot of sense when you watch the training and you see what she was going through and how her training was tied to her success as a future, like, owner of the Mitsurugi financial group. It makes a lot of sense now why she behaves the way she does. It's not just that she was sheltered. It's also the fact that she was taught this old code and this idea of idealism overcoming all things. That, like, if she holds to her standards and has high standards, that she's somehow going to be able to impose these standards and be successful at being a higher caliber of individual that the world requires of people with a lot of power and influence. And I thought it was a really interesting dynamic into the idea of, like, what it means to have wealth and what it means to have this influence. Because like, a lot of criticism going for people like Jeff Bezos, like, who, like, you know, is the richest person in the world. And then, like people commenting and saying like, look, this is an individual who could fix a lot of problems with the excessive wealth that he has, and instead he flew himself to space and is building a super yacht. Like, it's one of those ideas. It's like, how do we judge a person's lifestyle when it's so far beyond what's so typical? Like, should we blame like the Mitsurigis for not solving world hunger? I don't know. Maybe they could, maybe they couldn't. It's not really fair to ask those kinds of questions. And I think it's really cool to look into this idea of like why like Maya is the way she is, and like how she approaches her like mindsets, which is really good. Tenacious Rodent says, I recently tried some yakisoba. It's nasi goreng with attitude. Okay, so like is it very, so you're saying it's very like flavorful, like they add a lot of like kick to it. I mean, that sounds good to me. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with noodles. YouTube, please, I forgot this some of the pictures of this. Oh man. Okay, anyway, we got to keep going with this now. So learning to love is like takes place right after learning to lead, because learning to lead ends learning to lead is like ends with her like being called out to Japan and being ready to start negotiating with her family about her wedding, because that's really what the whole Takeru incident is like she doesn't want to give up on Takeru and just do like the family like arranged marriage until she has an opportunity to let him and her get together. And so she's like departing at the end of learning to lead to go there, and learning to love is her kind of like en route to Japan when she has the whole crazy interaction with the bank, which again, it was a good show of like the application of her like innocence and her like her personal vows to be able to like take those steps and to kind of be the person we know she is, and like see how there's that logic that leads from like where she was at the start of Extra, like how she got there, which was really cool to see, because she is the most unlike relatable character out of the main cast, I think, just because of that crazy background she comes from. And yet again, she's the one that took my heart easily. Easily still top girl. So she's got stiff competition, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay, then we get into the alternative side of the Photon Flowers, which got pretty dark, which makes sense, but holy crap, it got dark. Atonement is like the darkest. Marimo's backstory is flippin' amazing. That story still leaves echoes in me, but it's almost hard to summarize, because it's like that story was all serious. Like there was like nothing, like there's none of the like quintessential like out of place like goofy humor and charm that you see in most of the other Muv-Luv stories. It was just pure grit, because I think it wanted to communicate just how like crazy awesome Marimo was, and like the struggles she went through, and like the irony of for her is so like how she wanted to be a teacher when she was young, but she wanted to be a soldier more because she wanted to fight for a world where like teachers were needed again, and yet she became a teacher and pulled away from the front lines. And yet she became such an important person that actually she fulfilled her dream and her job by being a teacher in this world that doesn't need teachers. And I just loved the whole arc of like how she got there, and like the whole interaction with her squad and the competitiveness that was there, and like how she butted heads with everybody. And then in the end, like how they did end up having a bond, and then she had to watch them die, and just like this horrific story, but also just so well done. Yeah, like it was just really, really good, and like it probably left the biggest impression on me of the short stories in here, but I don't think it was the best. I also think Rain Dancers Rain Dancers was interesting. I think it was a good snapshot of the world, but I think it was actually the weakest of the stories that we covered here. Now, while it was fun to watch the typhoons in action, and now that I have a better appreciation of them thanks to Adoration, I still think that of the stories, it was the weakest. Again, it seemed like it was trying to tie more into like Total Eclipse, which I'll probably appreciate a lot more when I actually read that one. But again, we're also not getting these in the exact right order when it came out, so like we have to take that into consideration. Mr. Wolfie Dog You make Marimo's backstory is fantastic. Yes, it is. I absolutely agree. I'm not reading everything you guys are talking about. There's a good conversation going on about yakisoba, but by the time I noticed it, I was already well up past it. So I highly, if you're watching this, like, you should be able to see the chat replayed, even if it's in post. So I'd go check that out. It's a fun little conversation. But Rain Dancers was fine. It was a decent story, and it had a lot of good atmospheric building, but it was very much a short clip. I imagine it was mostly just meant to be a vertical slice and nothing more, which is fine. It does a good job at doing that. Confessions, that one ripped my soul to pieces. That's that's Asumi's final thoughts, you know, like after she signs off with the squad and before the detonation of the Susano, you know, like to keep it out of the hands of the beta. It's her chance to kind of reflect and to share and to think about her stories of her training and like just the characters. And that was I think that's a quintessential like synopsis of like what it's like in the alternative universe typically. Like you had the squad, you had their struggles, but they had like uplifting moments, they had some funny moments, but then it got really serious, and then there was the training accident with the arc bright like turn, which was so cool and then so horrific at the same time. And like that realization of like understanding like even in a pseudo leadership role, like the choices we make and the things we overlook have consequences, and it's just horrific and just so wonderful at the same time to see. Hey, it's a super chat from Taco Chameleon, 500 something. I don't know what that is. It has like a D, so I don't know. Anyway, hello, here's my SC as well as saying thank you for all the Muv-Luv streams you've uploaded. I've followed these streams since before the whole Muv-Luv lore has also amazed me. Cheers. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Like anytime super chats come through, it blows my mind, so thank you so much for that. And I'm really glad you've enjoyed it. Like, there's so much there and there's so much more to come. So hopefully you keep sticking around and keep enjoying the series. Oh, and thank you for filling in. You said Filipino pesos. I'll try to remember that. Different denominations is crazy hard for me to keep up with. It's kind of like learning names of people. Like, I'm great at remembering faces, but I can't remember names to save my life. So thank you so much for your donation, though. And thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Hopefully there's still more content for you to enjoy in the future. But yeah, so yeah, I've been really, really enjoying being able to do that. So what was I saying? I was saying... Oh yeah, confessions. Asumi's death was so hard for me in the original alternative. I think a lot of us were hit really hard with it because it was delivered so powerfully. And then to see her final thoughts, like, was so, like, incredible. Like, it was so genuinely incredible to be able to experience and to see that what it could be and to really kind of get that feeling of, like, what were her regrets? Her regrets were, like, not being as human as she could have been, like of trying to like impose this like ideal over herself and to sacrifice her own feelings, her love, her family, her drive, and how she had to kind of rediscover like that what it meant to have a pillar to fight with. Remember, that's kind of the big theme of alternatives, like what do you fight for, and is it actually something you can fight for, like when the time comes when you have to make the sacrifice, when you have to make the tough call, when you have to potentially throw yourself in danger not knowing if you can make it back. Like, what is it that's going to keep you from just running away? What's going to keep you from just focusing on yourself? And like, it's really fun to see that each character had their own journey with it. It's something we'll talk about again later too with Munakata, but ultimately it was such a beautiful story. Even though you know how it's going to end, like, it's still wonderful to kind of go through it and kind of see her thoughts because it was such a turning point in the story. Like, Alternative had so many like dynamic moments, like there's the Chomp obviously, and then I think Operation 21st ending with Asumi dying, then there was like going to the alternate timeline, and then finally the final mission. Each of these moments by themselves was like a quintessential defining moment of the series, and then to have them back to back to back, it's nice to be able to go back and reflect on some of them because they not that they felt rushed, but they were overwhelming at the time. And so to really go back and be reflective on it again was really It was almost like a spiritual experience, man. Taco Chameleon said, difficult choices are the matters of life and death. That's what makes Love stories awesome. Exactly. Because how many of us have truly had to face those decisions? I don't think I have. Not nearly on that scale. And so it makes me wonder, like, what would I do in those situations? Could I be this hero? Could I be the one who could do something so powerful? Could I make the sacrifice? I really want to be able to believe that, but part of me kind of knows that I'm ultimately probably a coward. And unless I were able to find that pillar to lean on, I don't know if I could. Not in the moment. Well, yeah, hopefully that we don't have to face those decisions ever. But part of me wants to know whether I could do it or not. Anyway, Chicken Divers. We're gonna go to Chicken Divers. I think Chicken Divers is one of the best, like, isolated stories. That's the one I said it when I read it, and I truly believe, like, it's one I could be like, here, you don't know anything about this entire series, read this. Because it just encapsulates so much of the emotions of Alternative so well. The idea of, like, dropping into, like, from an orbital strike, like, the rates of survival, and knowing that, like, it's almost uncommon for you to become a chicken diver. And then to see the really tragic fate of the chicken divers. But for such a short, it's just such a good, like, story of, like, the mech side of everything, too. It's just beautiful. Mr. Wolfie Dog said, Muv-Luv is going through a revival with Integrit and Resonative Total Eclipse this year with Project Mikkel, among other things. Let's see somebody dive into the Muv-Luv recently. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really happy that I kind of got on the bandwagon early enough that I can really ride this through. Like, I'm definitely not a big channel. I doubt I'll ever be a big channel. But I want to be one of the channels that covers Muv-Luv properly. I want to be a place that people can turn to understand this series, especially with the anime coming out. I'm so happy. The anime's actually been... I've seen a massive surge of people checking out, like, my Muv-Luv series because of the anime. And I'm sure, like, Echo 6 and other creators are also experiencing this. And it's so wonderful. Like, it's like, I want to be able to make content that's good for them. I almost wish I could remake that content now because, like, I've learned so much about editing and about, like, communicating my thoughts since, like, I recorded those initial Muv-Luv series. Like, I wish I could redo them, but then again, like, there's a charm to, like, me going into them and Muv-Luv being, like, one of my first visual novels ever. Like, it was, like, the third one I started or something. And, like, it's amazing that, like, it's still part of my journey to this day. Like, it's awesome. And so, yeah, like, all said and done, it's just awesome. I'm really happy about this and being able to, like, share these things. So I'm grateful you guys enjoy it, too. Oh, yeah. Starship Troopers. Actually, it's funny because, like, you mentioned Starship Troopers talking about... We're kind of... I know we jump around with these live things. I'm sorry. Chicken Divers, talking about the comparison of Starship Troopers, which I'm sure there was some inspiration there, of course. But yeah, I actually recently had someone... Like, I was watching a video where they were describing, like, the scene where they describe, like, Starship Troopers. And, like, you're absolutely right. Like, it also does a really good job of, like, highlighting just how terrifying that whole process would be. But man, I would hate to have to be in a beta war, but I really someday want to go to space. Like, I doubt it'll ever happen, but that's one of my dreams, my ultimate dreams, like the super bucket list item. And so, like, just imagining being able to go into orbit and then fall back, even though it'd be terrifying and I could die, like, part of me would be like, I'd want to do it just to be able to do it. Kind of like skydiving. It's something I want to do, even though it's crazy. I still think I'm going to do it sometime. It's Mr. Wolfie Dog. Total Eclipse comes out this winter, so hyped for it. Finally get to read it ever since I got into Muv-Luv in 2012. Yeah, I'm excited for it too, especially because the anime, like, I didn't get too far into it, thankfully. But, like, the few I saw, like, the first 2 episodes were great, but the next few were pretty boring. But I bet you the visual novel is going to blow it out of the water, so I'm excited for that. But it'll take me a while to catch up, because I'm going to do the day after tomorrow first. The day after tomorrow, the day after first. So we're going to go through that. And then I'll jump into Eclipse afterwards. So, like, it'll be a while before I catch up with you, man. But I hopefully you'll save you a spot. And Taco Chameleon, same here. Muv-Luv was my first BN as well. I'm already immersed in it. I admit I was a Total Eclipse anime that brought me to the Muv-Luv Rebel. That's the thing. That's fine. I don't think it matters where you start. Like, I actually did, like, a little poll on the channel. I don't know if you saw it. But I was saying, like, for people who are watching the anime, like what do you think they should do to get in? And a decent amount of people said, like, hey, you just gotta start somewhere. Just jump in. Like, just go for it. Also, by the way, I want to point out, like, in these intros for Muv-Luv Photon Flowers and Photon Melodies, we actually got a hint of the character design changes that we're seeing in the anime. Like, if you saw Maya there, like, she definitely doesn't look like a normal Maya. She looks a lot more like the anime Maya. So we probably shouldn't have been surprised at the direction they took the art for the character design. Just saying. I know we don't all agree on it, but it's kind of been there for a bit, and we were probably just, like, pretending it wasn't there. Oh, well. Anyway, so I don't want to get into that debate too much. Just want to point out that, like, the modern covers and the parts of these, like, stories that are more modern showed a evolution of character design. So, something to think about. Let's see. Those transparent suits look like something called... Yeah, I mean, gotta remember, like a lot of visual novels, they're essentially in their core ecchi at some point. So, like, you know, it makes sense. It sells, right? I mean, it sells. Can't deny it's not interesting. But yeah, it can be a little difficult to explain. Anyway, so all said and done, so Chicken Divers my final thoughts on Chicken Divers is just simply the fact that, like, it's a good encapsulation of what Muv-Luv Alternative is about. So it's a great thing to just be like, hey, here's a good vertical slice of what this is all about. And then finally, Inheritance is... That one's also the super punch in the gut one. That's with, like, Asumi's sisters after she's passed. It's like the after effects of that whole battle. Them going to the funeral. Well, the funeral, obviously, there was no body. And, like, the lies they were told about her passing because they had to keep her mission top secret. And, like, how her sisters were trying to, like, move forward. And just, like, getting to see them as characters. I imagine if we'd been able to, like, see the anime and read the stories that they came from, it would have been a lot more impactful. That's another series I hope gets translated sometime. But it was still powerful to see. And again, it's like one of those things where, like, it's important to remember that there's no... Even the tragedies that we see aren't in isolation. Like, people who die in a good story aren't just leaving us behind. They're leaving behind family and friends and people who care about them. People who we weren't really seeing before, but maybe, like, had an inkling of. And then we got to see some of that effect really powerfully. And I think that's probably one of the best stories to talk about, like trying to understand, like, how incomprehensible it is to lose somebody, especially in war. Like, that's something I've never experienced. Like, I've never lost a family member to, like, a field of combat. And, like, the pain and sorrow that comes with that, and the uniqueness of it too, because it's like, it's not just like an accident. It's like there's a part of your brain that's like, hey, they signed up for it, you know. But does that make it easy? No. Does that make it, like, okay? Absolutely not. But it might be hard to express to people because other people might see it as like, well, I mean, it's what happens. You become a soldier, you take a risk, and, like, sometimes things happen. It's like, it might be hard to feel like you can gain or should be worthy of sympathy because of those types of feelings, and that can make it bottle up inside you. And you see that effects with her sisters on how, like, they were trying to, like, not put it all on themselves, and yet they were totally putting it on themselves. And they were, like, upset at each other for being, like, so distraught, and yet they were distraught themselves. It was very interesting, good psychological look into them. So that's pretty much my thoughts on Photon Flowers. All in all, they're all fantastic stories, some more than others, and it could be a bit scattered a bit in tone, but ultimately it was a good dive. And I think Photon Flowers focused a lot on characters. Like, it was more about, like, going into, like, it was a collection of stories that were about, like, let's take one person and really, like, kind of dissect them a little bit. Really get to understand how they work and where they approach these problems from and what was going through their mind at critical junctures. And I think that's really important. And it even does that to the series as a whole with, like, Chicken Divers, like taking its own content and being like, here, let's take a closer look at a part of this that we mentioned but weren't able to go into. And it was really, really powerful. Anyway, Tenacious wrote up, well, the loot stuff to bring down your emotional barriers just a bit more. It's true. That's true. It's a viable strategy. Tokyo Chameleon. Aside from Chicken Divers, there's also Muv-Luv Ensemble, though. It hasn't been translated yet. Hopefully it will. I mean, we're well on our way, and it sounds like the anime is being fairly well received. Funny enough, I haven't actually watched some of the most recent episodes yet. I just haven't had time, but I'll get to it eventually. So I've got a good feeling that this renaissance is going to continue, and I'm hoping it'll launch a renaissance of the visual novel scene in general. Like, I'm hoping more people are going to be more open to visual novels. Like, anime recently has had a boom of like public acceptance and like general like appreciation, where it used to be very much a niche thing. I'm hoping visual novels in the West especially might explode into the scene, and like we might see more diverse types of visual novels and more like support for visual novel creators. It's something I'm excited to see. Age Not Anchor, Masters of PTSD. Yeah, no, like, I totally agree. Like, I don't know how they do it, but, like, they really make it so that you just want to, like, die inside, and yet you love them for it. Age and Anchor are, like, the writing is just insane. It's amazing how good it is. And it's amazing that it gets translated, and it retains so much power, because there's always going to be stuff lost in translation. So, kudos to all the translators out there. Fantastic work. Any of you who happen to see this, like, oh my gosh, whether you're working on it now or not, like, the translations were fantastic. I'm actually going to talk a little bit about that. Like, I was doing research in Altered Fable before I did this, and there were translations that had me rolling on the floor laughing. Just, they were mwah, chef's kiss perfect. It was amazing. Speaking of that, we're going to jump into Melodies. Now, it's interesting because, like, Melodies is actually going to be the shorter one to talk about, but I think it's actually the most impactful because it only has the 3, but those 3 are, like, full stories. Where Photon Flowers is more character, like exposés almost. Memories is, like, full-on, like, narratives in small packages. Obviously, none of them are as long or as big as a full game. Well, actually, Altered Fable is, I'd say, a full game. But even though they're shorter, they still have like the punch of a full story delivery. Adoration was a joy because it was not only a glance into a part of like a Muv-Luv universe that we just hadn't seen before, it was a really fun, relatable story. Had some like I've called pop culture references that I actually went over my head because I hadn't seen Code Geass or anything like that. But it was an incredible journey to be able to kind of see these interactions of characters, how goofy and funny they were, and just like how like interesting and hilarious they could make such a dark world be. And like seeing this idea and the questions of like personal value, like chivalric code, and like the idea of like, again, like a lot of it is like a lot of like the narrative of Muv-Luv is this kind of the butting heads of like idealism and reality, and where do you find that like meeting point? Because if you're too like hard realistic and pessimistic, you'll just be hopeless. But if you're too idealistic, you'll not actually be able to deliver or even like withstand what the brutal truths of the world are. And so being able to find that meeting point is kind of like the antithesis of each of the stories in Alternative. And even though we go over the same themes, we see them from different perspectives in such unique ways, you can't help but be enamored with the storytelling. Tokyo Chameleon, the Muv-Luv Renaissance is what I've been waiting for a long time for since the lore has potential. Yoshimune-san's having a very happy time of his life. Oh yeah. I mean, you gotta remember, like the guy sold his house to get the visual novels made. Like, this guy is dedicated. It's been a long time coming. You're absolutely right, Wolf Doggy. Like, and I'm so excited I got to be a part of it, even like a little bit. And I hope to continue to be a part of it. Like, I've had people say that they see me as like one of the quintessential visual novel channels, that like I'm like the one they turn to for things like Muv-Luv and stuff. And whilst I don't think I've earned that in any way, and I'm definitely not like a big YouTuber, but the fact that I can be included in that at all, that people are like, yeah, your channel is like one of the ones that's like if when it comes to visual novels, like your channel is one to go to. It's like, that makes me so happy because like I get to be a part of this. Like, can you imagine if I hadn't started this channel like a few years, those years ago? Like, even if I enjoyed these stories, like, I get to be a part of this journey now. I get to have had all this background information, and like get to be a part of this. Like, and then you're talking about here, like Camille, you mentioned like thank goodness for the Kickstarter. Yeah, that started it all. Really, I wish I could have been a part of that. I missed the Kickstarter. I really wish I'd been able to be there for that. Like, that was something I truly am so like. I if you notice in my videos, when the credits roll, I thank the Kickstarter people every time because they're the ones that really made this happen. Oh, thank you, Blank. I appreciate you saying that. I don't know if I've earned being the best Let's Play visual novel Let's Play channel ever, but I'm honored you think so, and I hope I can keep living up to your standards. Because oh my gosh, like, I don't know, man. The best thing about it though, like when I hear stuff like that, is the fact that like I don't make this channel or content being a character. I'm not being like a lot of people make like Let's Plays. They over embellish things, like, and that's fine. Especially because it's often entertaining. Like, I can't crack jokes. I'm not, I wish I had, I have a good sense of humor, but I'm not the kind of person who could, like, be funny. it just doesn't mesh for me. I'll have my funny moments, but, like, not like a lot of the channels I follow and love. But you give me, that's what I can give you. Is I give you what I love, and I give you how I love it, and what I genuinely think. And if that's what you want, and if that's what you find appealing in a visual novel Let's Player, then by all means, stick around, because it's not going anywhere. Okay, and so Tenacious Road, another idea I had, narrative Muv-Luv works a lot like The Deer Hunter. Not a fun movie to watch, but it's a classic. All the military stuff that went over my head. Okay. Deer Hunter. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that one in particular. I'm not a big movie person, honestly. I don't spend a lot of time watching TV or movies. And the little bits I do have nowadays tends to be an anime. Oh man. But yeah, most of my time goes to like study and like make videos, and also just, you know, making sure I make time to connect with friends. Like, if you guys ever see me on Discord or playing a game, 9 times out of 10, I'm doing that either while I'm talking with my friends or like doing something together with my friends, because like that's like my time to be able to like interact with adults. I feel like most of my time I'm just caught up in everything else. But anyway, Adoration, I think, is one of the greater stories because it kind of covers everything, including like the dark side of combat. But ultimately it's kind of this idea about like worldly like connections despite like the challenges. Like, I think the whole premise about like doing like study abroads, even back when like you have to shuttle people through space to get them to other places on the planet, like shows this whole idea of like how important human connection is. That's what I think that story is about. Adoration is about the importance of connection, and how the main character like used the bonds and the love that he forged while he was on his exchange as the foundation and inspiration for his like entire career for the rest of like that journey. And that's amazing. It's a great way to share the story. Taco Chameleon, if I can recall correctly, Yoshimune-san mentioned you as someone who explains Muv-Luv very well. I think he tweeted about you. Congratulations on you being... Did he really? I think I saw him tweet about like, wow, did he actually, wow, did he really say that? I think I saw a tweet, but I thought he was just like sharing like another he's like, oh, here's another channel who's covering this stuff. Like, did he? That would be awesome if he said I explained Muv-Luv very well. That'd be freaking cool. Holy crap. I might need to go dig through that. That's pretty amazing. Like, I knew I got a tweet from somebody, from someone in the group, and Yoshimune. I guess I didn't know it was Yoshimune. Fetch, okay. Gonna blow my mind again. I remember I got my mind blown that time. Because, like, I remember it was because they have on the Muv-Luv official YouTube channel. Yeah, that is like the best thing ever. Like, I'm kind of like, I kind of don't believe it because it's like doesn't seem real. Oh, by the way, the music is playing right now. This is the music from Altered Fable in the cave. Best scene ever. Oh my gosh, we're gonna talk about that later. But if that was him, holy freaking crap! Like, because I remember like whoever shared it, they were saying that I was on, like, I was covering the same, like we were in the same part of like Muv-Luv. I think at the time it was Photon Flowers, like towards the end, and they have their official like Muv-Luv YouTube channel, and they have those two cosplayer like voice actor girls who have been doing like live stream reaction like coverage of like Muv-Luv, and we happened to be covering like Asumi's backstory like at the same time. Like we were almost like on par. They ended up doing stories in different order than I did, and then I went into Altered Fable before they did. So like we deviated after a bit, but like we were like almost covering the exact same stuff at the same time. And I thought that's what they were saying. I thought he was saying it was kind of funny that we were covering the same content at the same time, but from like different perspectives. But yeah. But to be honest, he explains and understands very well. A lot of detail to mix with emotional tones. I binge watched the entire Muv-Luv playthroughs. That's what Mr. Wolfie Dog said. And then Tenacious wrote and said, it's like Muv-Luv in the first act is the characters in their normal lives, then they go to the Vietnam and get PTSD galore. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, PTSD is like the highlight of Alternative and Unlimited. It's pretty much just like, hey, you want to know what it would be like if everything's horrible? Well, here you go. I distinctly remember him making a shout out as well. So it's either it's a mass delusion or he legitimately tweeted about the channel. I hope it was about that. Like, that's freaking awesome. Yeah, I guess what I missed, which is insane, was who it was. I thought it was just a generic channel. I didn't realize it was him. Fetch, man, that's freaking... I'm pretty sure I said thank you. I always say thank you when people retweet my stuff. I always like send them like a little message or like a retweet and say like thank you so much. But man, yeah, either way, man, freaking awesome. I'm like blown away. Like, man, just the fact that like when I messaged the Muv-Luv translation team, I don't know if I've ever told you guys. I'm sure I've mentioned this, right? So when Photon Flowers and Photon Melodies were announced, I was in the middle. I had wrapped Alternative and thought I was probably done with Muv-Luv for a while. But then they announced that, and I remember messaging like the translation, like localization team, and I was just like, hey, I've covered some Muv-Luv content before. That was when it was posted, because they'd also had a change recently, and I was like, hey, when that comes out, would there be any issues with me covering on my channel? Because I do that normally. If there's ever a game you're like, why hasn't he covered this on the channel? Like 9 times out of 10, it's because they don't want people covering it on YouTube channels, and I respect that to the point where like I will wait and hopefully they'll change their mind about it later. So I'm like Clanad's a good example of that. Like, I want to play Clanad on the channel. I want to play that game so bad. Because, like, I've seen enough of the anime to know I'll love it. And so, but they really got a stringent, like, you can only play, like, the first, like, 3 hours of the game. And so, like, and I don't want to push that button. I don't want to, like, make them feel like they have to shut me down or anything. Like, I want them to feel like I'm an ally. So, like, games like that, like, I want to cover on the channel, but like I need to make sure they do it okay. So like that's what I do behind the scenes. I do a lot of behind the scenes messaging and saying like, hey, can I cover this? Would you be comfortable with this being featured on my channel? And like I show them like a video. I'll be like, this is how I do it. What do you think? Most of the time they're fine with it. Sometimes they say no though, and I respect that. I'd love to do Clan though. Fetch, man, I want to do it. But I remember I messaged them about like doing Photon Melodies, Photon Flowers. I was like, hey, would you be okay with me continuing to do this? And they actually messaged me back. They said, actually, yes, we wanted to talk to you about this. They said apparently when they were talking about like releasing it, the localization, they had a sit-down meeting with like the people, with like the board in Japan. And they said, all right, what do you think about streamers? And they showed videos, my video and a video from mine and a video of Echo 6's to them. And so, like, these are some of the content creators in the West that are making content based on our stuff. They got permission beforehand. What do you think about it? And they set up stipulations on what they wanted. And, like, so they contacted me and they said, like, hey, we want you to keep making this content. Like, they flat out told me, like, we discussed it with them and they said, you should make, like, we want these people making content. But they asked that we do something to like, change it a bit. So they actually told me, they're like, the fact that you put your face in the picture is perfect. Like, the fact that you have commentary, that your face is in there, they're like, that's exactly what we want. Keep doing it. And so, like, to know that like they had a conference meeting and that they talked about me was freaking amazing. I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so like I pretty much have a green light to just cover Muv-Luv content on the channel. Like they like the way I do my styling, and so yeah, like I know I can do Muv-Luv as long as like there's no big status quo change. So like yes for that. Anyway, blank would be awesome if you did rewrite. There's an upcoming translation on Steam. I did see that actually. I would love to cover rewrite. It's currently my favorite visual novel, sadly, by the same guys who did Clanad. Oh, fetch. Yeah, if it's by the same people, there's a good chance they're gonna say no. I'll message them though. I'll see if I can do it. Like I always try. Alright, sorry, I remember that shout out was made last year. Also, I remember him making a tweet about that dated last year as well. Okay, yeah, so I definitely responded to it. I just didn't realize it was him. Fetch, man. I'm gonna go reread that. Oh, that's embarrassing. Like, one of my biggest idols, I don't even know, tweets me on tweets about my videos. Fetch. That's just totally a blue shifting thing, right? Like, just whew, right over the head. Like, it's just like the whole compilation about me being terrible at reading Japanese. I'm glad I've gotten better, but oh my gosh, I'm still bad. Anyway, Resurrection. My throat's starting to give out, so I only got so much more I gotta do. So Resurrection, that was the one that caught me off guard. Silvio turned out to be a whole lot more relatable than I thought. Because at first I was like, oh, what a bum. I was like, he's just some ladies' man, whatever. The whole like story about the beta brids and like trying to break up, like, and having like the beta that were being researched escaping and heading towards like populations, like, that was horrifying. And the whole accident and everything that went down was terrifying. But then the shenanigans at the base with all the girls and the Valkyries was, oh, it was beautiful. It was so good. Like, it was really fun to be able to get to know Munakata as a character too, like to get that behind the scenes like understanding of who she is, because while she was so important to Takeru's journey, she also was someone we knew almost nothing about. So to be able to actually see this interaction with her and Silvio, at first I thought it was an odd choice. I was like, there's so many interesting characters to cover. Why Munakata? But I'm so glad they did. I have such a big appreciation for her as a character now. Which was interesting because then in Altered Fable, she's very, like, antagonistic, which I'm not used to. Like, she's definitely kind of standoffish most of the time, but at least with Silvio, she was, like, relatable and conversational. But, man, it was so beautiful to be able to see that whole story. It was kind of crazy, like, all the shenanigans and, like, the whole, like, sleeper agent with the proteins. Like, that was a terrifying thought, honestly. It was also nice to see cameo of like Yuko Sensei's sister, who like was in Rumbling Hearts, and that's how I knew she existed. Because I was really confused when I watched Rumbling Hearts, because I saw her and she's like, wait, is that Yuko? She looks just like her, but she's like a doctor, and so like it was really fun to see that she is like, of course she was going to be in the universe, but it was nice to see her. And then just Silvio's arc, like it got the impression that like Silvio's going to have something to do with like what happens in like Total Eclipse. So I'm really excited to see Total Eclipse if I'll recognize his cameo if he's in there. No spoilers, please. Blank. How about covering when they cry, such as Higurashi and Umineko? I think they're more open to having Let's Players on YouTube. Not to mention, yeah, Umineko and Higurashi are absolutely going to be on the channel. I actually, the publishers gave those games to me for free. They actually contacted me saying, we want you to cover these games. And so I'm going to. But the thing is, like, they are an undertaking. Like, Muv-Luv's a long series. Those are long series. So, like, getting them started is a major commitment. And so, like, I'm trying to find the best time for it. Because my original plan, not knowing so much Muv-Luv was going to be coming out, was to finish Muv-Luv and to play those games afterwards on my Monday slots. But that's not going to happen. Because Muv-Luv's years away, and I don't think I want to wait that long to start those. Wednesdays, I kind of like being able to rotate more like frequently, though. But I'll sacrifice that if I have to. And then Fridays, I definitely want to keep being smaller series, because I think it's important for us to remember that there are new games coming out. That there are some creators and teams that are making visual novels that don't have like as much of an audience or staging yet, and I love being able to highlight those games, either games that are just like underwhelming or on like less known, recently translated. Like, I found so many hidden gems by having that slot like dedicated to smaller stuff. I want to keep it that way. So Fridays are always going to be smaller series, like maybe not tiny series per se, but like stuff that you won't see super high on the charts on VNDB. Like, I want to do all those games, but it's just going to take time. And actually reading Umineko right now, so I'm hyped to hear your thoughts on it. Yeah, I definitely am going to be playing it, like I said. Like, the thing is that, like, someone said in, like, they were, like, a lot of people have also requested it on the Discord. That's where you can, like, log any requests you have, and I kind of, like, keep track of them there because it's easier that way. But a lot of people are pointing out that, like, The Higurashi and Umineko series have more like have a higher word count than like the Bible. So yeah, it's gonna be something we get into, but it's gonna be an endeavor. It's gonna be something that I don't want to take lightly to jump into. So like, be patient with me. I'm trying to figure out the best way to get that started. I am going to do it, but I've got to figure out the right way for it. That's the way it is for a lot of this. Like, there's a lot of thought I put into this channel that, like, it might not be very apparent. Because it can seem like it's just something like I click record and go. That's not how it is at all. I have a lot of forethought I try and put into it and try and make sure that I don't spoil myself or anything. But I also do my research so I know, like, what I'm getting into with a series. Muv-Luv, I went into super blind, and that was a mistake. It was great that I did it, though. But I had no clue what I was signing up for. There's times, like, halfway through extra, where I was like, I think the game's almost over. Because I had no clue what I was getting into. I didn't know I wasn't even like a fourth of the way through. I thought it was about to wrap. Anyway, okay, so, finally, though, we gotta go after Resurrection. We have to go Altered Fable. It was summarized to me that Altered Fable was a love letter to the fan base, and it absolutely is. I love Altered Fable so much. There's so much in it that's just amazing. And it's funny because before streaming this, I quickly did a few extra playthroughs of Altered Fable because like the only one I'd done up until like a week ago was the one I showcased on the channel, the Yui route. Yeah, no, they're good. I have more to play. I haven't played all the routes, but I knew, and I told people like I was struggling to choose between Yui, the Yui route and the Kashiwagi route. So I went back and did the Kashiwagi route. And oh my gosh, that's adorable. Kashiwagi's adorable. Like, I have to be, like, I don't know who I'd be more interested in. If they were real people, really in my life in high school, and I was, like, interested in dating people, and I somehow knew all these insanely beautiful and amazing, like, girls, like, I was actually living in that situation. I don't know who I would be most interested in, but it would be Yui, Maya, or Kashiwagi as at the top because they're just awesome in every way that I think people can be awesome. So I highly recommend you check out the Altered Fable routes if you haven't yet. The music from the cave scene and just the cave scene in general, it was so beautiful. It was like, it genuinely made me tear up. Like, I wasn't like bawling, you know, but it made me like genuinely feel something incredible. And for a exclusively like fun-filled, effectively an ecchi dating sim game that's like Altered Fable, like, it blew my mind. I see you guys cheering for Kashiwagi. Yeah, she's freaking great. She's so good and so fun, and her dating arc and just her story is just so great. And like the way she interacts with Takeru is so human. Compared to like some of the other girls, like Yamane does not sound human. The way she talks to him just does not seem like a real person. It's great, but it just doesn't seem real. Most of the characters don't seem very real when it comes to that because they're very much about like being like unique and instinctualized, and that's perfectly fine. That's what we come for, right? But Kashiwagi was very down to earth as a character, and so like to see that whole like relationship go was really, really fun. And Kashiwagi is just, she's great. I'm glad you all are Kashiwagi fans. I was so sad because like I had to choose between her and Yui, and I was like, how can I make that choice? But I did. But like, I'm really glad I got this. But the bus of thirst, yeah. No, it's not the bus of thirst. It's the game of thirst. There's so much thirst in this in Altered Fable. Like, it's bad. But I'm gonna do all the other routes on my own time. So I thought I can't talk about them. But the thing is, they're so long and so in depth. Like, I only had so much time before I wanted to do this live stream. But I know I'll enjoy all of them. So I'm curious to see them all, but like, yeah, no, Altered Fable is a beautiful thing, and especially because it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's such a beautiful like dating sim, but it truly is locked behind like one of the most intense locks ever, because like you really should play, you know, extra unlimited alternative before you play it. So I can't just recommend it to people, but it's one of the best dating sims I've ever played because it's just so well thought out and fun. And has so many choices that are meaningful and just enjoyable. I think the only downside I had is like you're kind of forced into like the main four like interactions of Sumika, Yashiro, Maya or Yui, because they like you have to have like somebody giving you a present that's unique on your birthday. You have a special interaction with like the crashing of the crashing with trying to prep for the ski race, and those are kind of set. No matter what path you're on, you're gonna get those events. I think it would have been more fun to be able to go down like the Kashiwagi route and have more interaction, more like intimate moments with Kashiwagi leading up to the finale. But I get that it's hard to write these things, man. Like, it's not like you can just do that. So, like, I get it. But I was still like, it would have been nice to have more Kashiwagi time. But anyway, I would have preferred just like Kashiwagi as a friend. Yeah, that's fine, man. Like, absolutely. I think Kashiwagi is like one of the best friends like you could have because she's just so cool and chill. But I mean, gotta say though, I mean she's gorgeous. like character design wise, she's probably like one of the prettiest in the entire series in my opinion. But that's me. Everyone's got their own taste. And that's what's best about this is like we could all agree Altered Fable is fantastic, but we all picture a different girl or girls, particularly when we play it, and that's the beauty of it, right? That's what makes it so great. And to have a dating sim that is so individualized, where like each route is so like it feels custom, and that's something I feel like a lot of visual novels do fall flat on when they're dating choices. Is that like the stories don't diverge that much. They just like they like the best example of this is like Enigma that I played recently. I loved it, but like besides like a few scenes, the majority of the game is exactly the same when you play it through each time. And while Altered Fable does technically do that for a majority of like the dialogue, when it comes to like the individual like branches, like they do feel unique and like individualized to the character. And like it shows that level of love, detail, and passion and time that was put into it. Like it was a game that was made without a time restraint. It was made so it was made to be itself until it was like deemed perfect. Like all of Muv-Luv. And that's really, really cool to do. And it's again, like we need to learn from this because I want more visual novels like this. We need more earth-shattering games like this. We need more narratives that just break the mold and make us go, what is my life? Because we can see it's possible. Like Steins Gate did this, Muv-Luv's done this, Seabed did this, and I would Katawa Sojo's done this. I'd say every visual novel has done it in some way, but these smash hits are smash hits because they have that spark we need to capture again. We need to have more games like this coming out, new titles. Like I want everyone out there to get excited about visual novels, to support the industry. So that as we support the industry, we support creators. And then out of those creators, we're going to find those gems, the people who are going to shine out and make something truly incredible. Because the future of visual novels, I think there's more to it. Some people say that the golden age is over. I think this past year shows that's not true. I think there's a revolution, like I call it the Renaissance. The Renaissance is returning. Like I think it's a time for us to really like see more come about. That Muv-Luv can be a precursor to something incredible that can come in the future, that the next Muv-Luv series can become a thing someday. Not that it has to try and compete with Muv-Luv, but to be as in-depth, as powerful, and as life-changing as Muv-Luv. I think it can happen. Anyway, let's see. There's a lot of Kashiwagi talk. Kashiwagi, part of the blue hair gang, Delta 7 says, so she's by definition best girl. I mean, true. I definitely have a soft spot for the dark-haired girls, blue-haired girls, Kashiwagi. Oh gosh, what's her name? I know it. Miku. She's in Rumbling Hearts. My brain's shutting down. I'm getting tired. She like all blue-haired girls. Like they tend to be pretty good. I agree. Blue hair tends to make them best girls. I have no regrets. To me, I did a real life Kashiwagi. Absolutely. Like that's the thing. Like a lot of these characters were like they're really sweet in a game, but in real life would be a little overbearing. But like Kashiwagi wouldn't be. She'd be like super cool. She actually kind of reminds me of my first crush, if I'm honest. So maybe there's something to it there. Like, let's see. So Delta 7, well, Muv-Luv, you read, you can feel the love put into the universe by itself says a lot. It's true. Muv-Luv set such a high standard for VN storytelling. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean it can't be surpassed someday. I'm not saying it should, but I want it to be. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have a story that's so good we have to admit that it's better than Muv-Luv? Like, that's a challenge. I'd love it. Oh, another series I want to do is the Fate series. I absolutely love the Fate lore in general. That's one I might cover on my channel anyway, because I've seen people posting it, like the fan translations, and not get flack. Because unlike series like Clanad and their publishers who like they actively look around and like strike down stuff on the internet, it seems that that the creators of Fate, the Natsu and the Natsu verse, they kind of pretend we don't exist. They'll take our money from Fate Grand Order, but they pretend they don't exist. That's why they're always like, we're not going to translate or localize our games. Like, it just seems like they're just determined to hold that line for some stupid reason. So the fact that other people have been posting it. Oh yeah, Mitsuki, thank you. Mitsuki Hayase, thank you. Yes, I'm glad you guys remember things better than me. But yeah, like I want to read Fate so bad because like the lore and the fun of it is just so great. And the fact that like Echo 6 did a cover of the game. And I asked him, I was like, did you get any flack about that? He's like, nope, no one seemed to care. So I'm like, I really want to hope that they'll just translate it and let me play it. But if they're not gonna, I'm just gonna have to play it on my own. So that's another series I really want to do. Like, I want to play that the Fate game so much. Because there's so much. That's another one. It's like the Muv-Luv universe. It's just like that universe is so big. And it's so fun. And it's so interesting. And I play the crap out of Fate Grand Order. I'm still free to play. Like, I haven't paid for anything yet, but like I love that game so much because like it's like one of the only mobile games that actually has a story I can get invested in. And even though it's absolutely just a glorified gacha waifu collector, it's still like of all the waifu collectors I've seen, honestly it's the only one that's actually caught my interest. Let me see. So Mitsuki Hayase, yep, Mitsuki is great. Good character. Yeah, I'm glad. Like the Fate series, like, is it perfect? I'm sure not. But like, there's a reason why it still sticks around and still like has like a fan base it does. You know, it's up there with like Muv-Luv when it comes to like what people rate it. Just started reading Fate and now I understand why there's so many doujins. Oh yeah, no, okay. Muv-Luv is fan servicey and ecchi. Fate only exists to be ecchi. Like, it is on a whole nother level when it comes to that. In fact, like, I've seen people like post stuff from the game that I was shocked that they were willing to put up. If I play the game, I guarantee you I'm going to at the very least going to have to blur stuff, get out the coconuts, and I might just omit stuff altogether. Kind of like I did with Katawa Sojo. Like, the Katawa Sojo, like, romance scenes were just blatant. They were fantastic, and they were really integral to the story, and they weren't, like... That's the other thing, too. Like, with Fate, like, gratuitous, like, fan service is something I'm not a huge fan of. Like, I feel like when they throw it in just to, like, check the boxes, it's just lazy. But if it's, like, it's narratively based, it's, like, there's build-up to it, and there's, like, there's a connection here with these characters, I love it. And I think it's very important to have it and not to shy away from it. But I have to be careful with YouTube. So Katawa Sojo, when those scenes started coming up, I got the coconuts out, and then when it got too much, especially with the audio, I usually just cut it out. Which is sad, but it's the way it is, and I'd rather be on the safe side of this thing. But anyway, yeah, no, Fate, absolutely. There's a lot of doujins of it for sure. No left for gaijin money. I know, right? Takio Chameleon, running has supernatural or mysterious effect on our brains. Yoshi Mune-san's a master of literature psychology. Yeah, you're talking about like Muv-Luv in general. Waifus is the reason why. Yeah, not only though. Like, I think waifu collection is pretty appealing, but like, there's more to it than just that. Because like, there's plenty of apps that are like waifu collection engines that are so boring that like they couldn't capture my attention for 5 minutes, let alone like I don't know how many hours of Fate Grand Order I played. But like, it's something I pull out like if I'm riding a bus, or if like, you know, like I'm just in the car not doing anything, or like I'm just in limbo, you know, I just pull it out and play it, I probably sunk hundreds of hours into that game. Let's see, and then the 3 Fate main girls are all S tier. Just know though, cultural osmosis, I've yet to play it. Yeah, just through cultural osmosis. Yeah, I got you, absolutely. Raiden best girl. I'm sorry, but Raiden best girl. She really is. It's basically Pokemon but waifus. Yeah. If Pokemon could have really cute, fun interactions with you as the main character. Yeah, fairly similar. It's really good. Okay, but and then Delta 7, waifu, it has to be some emotional connection to it. May is best girl, not just because she's beautiful, it's more that she stands for and it resonates so much. Yes, exactly. Delta 7, you highlighted it perfectly. It's not just because they're cute. It's because they're cute and relatable. And, like, I don't know, man. There's a whole philosophy we could dive into about waifus in general. That's another idea for a potential video in the future. Got some good stuff to try and do in the future. But, unfortunately, we do have to start wrapping up here because I am going to lose my voice. But all I ultimately have to say is that Muv-Luv, even in its like isolated short story format, is genuinely incredible. I don't think there were any of these stories that I was like, like I didn't like that story about. And even the weakest entries still had something to bring to the table that was thought-provoking and like made me considerate about like all the concepts that I considered up until that point and like view them in unique and new ways. The strongest points were just as good to stand up on their own as anything else. If I were to pick the strongest, I think Marimo's backstory, Asumi's regrets, Chicken Divers just because of like how good of a snapshot it is, and then everything in Melodies, honestly, fantastic. Altered Fable being the pinnacle of my favorite, and thoroughly earned its reputation. I think it's fairly clear that through and through I'm a fan of Muv-Luv. There really isn't any media, I think, that is as powerful, as good at telling a story, weaving characters and narrative, and getting you invested as Muv-Luv. And that's saying a lot. I've read a lot of books. I am a fan of a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. And Muv-Luv still takes the cake for me every time. So, to that, I salute everyone who's worked on this series in any way, shape, or form. And to all the people who are, like me, big fans, thank you so much for helping make it so much more successful, to the point where we're getting so much more translated and getting so much access to these stories. Like, it's amazing. So I'm very grateful that, because all of us are a part of that community, like we're the ones essentially that brought this about. And even if it wasn't directly, to those who were directly, freaking amazing. And I still plan, when I do eventually take my trip to Japan, I do plan to do a visit to Yokohama and find the tree and get my some pictures of it. Maybe even like do a little like video where I just talk about like being able to like, you know, appreciate the impact a fictional story has had on my very real life. And to be able to be even indirectly a part of this universe is so incredible to me. I'm so lucky to be here, and I'm honored to even have this opportunity to talk about this, and that you actually care and showed up to listen to this. So thank you so much. For anyone watching this in the future, thank you for tuning in. Live streams often underperform, and that's okay. I hope this is something that's been engaging. Hope this has been informative and helped you understand my passion. Like I said early on, I am going to be covering the day after, and I'm going to be continuing on to Total Eclipse, and I'm also going to definitely showcase some Project Mikhail on the channel. Like, if you like Muv-Luv, I'm going to be doing more. It's not going anywhere. I love this music so much. So, I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm grateful to all of you. This channel wouldn't be possible without you. To the people who are supporting me directly on Patreon, like, it blows me away that you're still so generous, and grateful for that. I hope to continue to make great content, unique content for the channel, to be able to make this channel even better than it's been before. and to know that I'm committed to doing this because it's one of my lifelines. It's my favorite thing to do. So thank you guys so much for everything. But I have to say for now, I'm going to have to get going. So thank you so much for spending your time with me, for being a part of this wonderful journey. And until the next video, watch me. I hope to see me in next. I'll see you there. Bye, guys.